Alrighty. Well, welcome back, everybody. I think we're now at the bulk of our agenda here at item 6.1, page 27 of your package. And I believe this was one that Councillor Hall asked to add to. Oh, was it Councillor? I'm sorry. I thought it was the other way around. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. I added this to the agenda because I don't believe that the recommended motion is valid. And so I'd like to move to reconsider resolution CC 25-299 so that the amendment could be made as part of a new motion.
Well, actually, the reconsideration for CC 25299 failed. And when that happens, according to Robert's Rules of Order, as mentioned in section 35 and 37.7, that amend something previously adopted can be completed. And because our procedural bylaw, when it's not mentioned in our procedural bylaw, we refer to Robert's Rules of Order.
I think our procedural bylaw is relatively clear that to amend a motion really is to, put on the table a discussion of the main motion or changes that would materially impact the main motion. And amendments always happen before the main motion. And so if you double check section 14 of the procedural bylaw, amendments are before the main. And once the main is decided, the item under consideration is really a decided item. And if we want to follow our procedural bylaw and consider the proposal, I think a motion for reconsideration is actually required under 13.5, which states that there can be no discussion on a question that has been decided or permitted until a motion for reconsideration is carried. And really what we're trying to do is amend something that has already been decided. That proposal was on the table last meeting to reconsider it, and that was defeated. The time to open it up and amend it would have been to approve the reconsideration and then make those amendments at that time. And then further, the bylaw says that we can only offer reconsideration once in a calendar year. So quite simply, the fact is procedural bylaw does not permit consideration of this item. The time to have made it was at the June 10th meeting.
Well, in actuality, when you're referring to the amendment that you're referring to is for a question that's on the floor. This would then revert to Robert's Rules of Order. And it does mention amend something previously adopted. Amending something previously adopted is something minimal, whether it be a word or in this case, a date. It's not.
As a point of order, Roberts only applies if our procedural bylaw is vague on it. And in this case, the procedural bylaw is pretty clear.
I disagree. Once again, your amendment that you're referring to is for something that is a motion that's currently on the floor that is being amended. This particular motion passed, the reconsideration failed. And when the reconsideration failed, we're able to then look at amending something previously adopted, in which case this is what this particular RFD is for. The recommendation here is to amend the date in resolution CC 25299, which is a past resolution, from by May 31st to by June 30th. It's simply a date change.
It still simply does not meet 13.5 of our procedural bylaw.
I disagree. So in that case, is there anybody who would like to put this motion forward?
I would appeal the decision of the chair on that item.
Okay, the appeal is noted. We will vote on the appeal. So therefore, let me see how we word this properly, to uphold the decision of the chair to go forward with the recommended motion. We will go to vote. All those in favor? The motion, the recommended motion is to amend the date in resolution CC 25-299 from by May 31st, 2025 to
Pardon me,
by.
I'm wondering if, just so that I can be clear on what the appeal motion reads.
The appealed motion? I guess you're appealing the recommended motion.
No, I'm appealing the decision of the chair to ignore the procedural bylaw.
It's not an ignoring of the procedural bylaw. It's outside of the procedural bylaw, which refers to Robert's Rules of Order. So if this is what you're wanting to appeal, the decision of the chair is to refer to Robert's Rules of Order when it doesn't apply in our particular procedural bylaw, then we can go forward to uphold the decision of the chair to refer to Robert's Rules of Order. Is that what satisfied? Okay. Which is what has been mentioned in this particular RFD.
I'd like a recorded vote, please.
Thank you. Was that what you were looking for? Okay. All right. So to uphold the decision of the chair to follow Robert's Rules of Order, in this particular instance, we will go to vote. All those in favor? It's a recorded vote. We have Councillor Cromwell, Councillor Gerlach, Councillor Mins, Councillor Holland, and Councillor Chamzik, and those opposed?
Nay.
We have Councillor Wallach, Councillor Anderson, Councillor Hall, and Councillor Capitania. Is there anyone who'd like to put the motion forward to amend the date in resolution CC 25299 from by May 31st, 2025 to by June 30th, 2025?
So moved.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair. I had requested to make a motion to reconsider.
That motion to reconsider had failed.
It wasn't voted on.
The last reconsideration that we did here with regards to the amending CC 25299 failed.
Sorry, I'm a little bit confused. There was cross talk across the table, and from my understanding, Councillor Anderson's motion is still on the floor. We jumped ahead when Councillor Hall went to go appeal your decision,
Yes.
but there's still, as far as I can tell, is still a motion on the floor.
Right, and the motion, though, I don't believe is valid because the motion was to reconsider, I believe, CC 25299, which was done in the previous agenda or previous meeting, and it failed. Okay,
That's what the appeal was all about. I
Right.
think.
okay. So Councillor Cromwell's motion now is to amend the date in resolution CC 25299 from by May 31st, 2025 to by June 30th, 2025. If everyone's ready for that vote,
Record it, please.
As a discussion, can we just be clear, if reconsideration has failed, how are we returning to the main motion?
once again, we've discussed it. Robert's Rules of Order allows an amend something previously adopted. It is in section 35 as well as 37.7. When a reconsideration of that motion has failed, it reverts back to as if that motion didn't exist. So therefore, or the reconsideration motion didn't exist. So therefore, we're able to go forward to amend something that was previously adopted in a minor way, which is a date. All right. So if we're ready, because we can go around and around the table at this, so I think we're ready for the vote. Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I'd just like to state that I'm still opposed to the motion because it violates our policy. And I believe that we should have revised the policy, not just made a motion that goes against it.
And thank you. That motion that did pass, as you mentioned, that policy 6805 will be coming back to a future committee of the whole for discussion and amendment. And if we're ready for the vote at this point, I don't think there's any further discussion, just checking the screen. All right, on the motion to amend, Councillor Cromwell's motion to amend the date in resolution CC 25299 from by May 31st, 2025 to by June 30th, 2025. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that was a recorded vote, I believe. So Councillor Cromwell, Councillor Gerlach, Councillor Mins, Councillor Holland, Councillor Chamzik, and Councillor Hall. All those opposed?
Nay.
Councillor Wallach, Councillor Anderson, and Councillor Capitanic. Thank you. The next item we have is item 6.3, which is on page 34. I believe. 34, there we go. There it is. Highway 2, condition concern letter. And this is recommendation here is to direct administration to draft a letter for the Reeves signature regarding the current condition of Highway 2 from Athabasca to Clyde and send it to the Minister of Transportation. Is it Councillor Mins? Would you like to own that motion? Alrighty, is there discussion? Go ahead, please, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. Just so that it is on record, Highway 2 is in much better shape than Highway 63. Just saying.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
I asked to have this added to the agenda. So I guess because I wasn't permitted to make the motion, I would like to propose an amendment to include mention of the condition of Highway 813 and 827 while we're writing. If we're sending a letter regarding the condition of highways in the county, we should mention other ones that are in worse condition. The fact is really that Highway 2 from Athabasca to about Perryvale is in relatively good condition and was recently repaved. So I don't know if we're now in the business of writing to ministers about the condition of highways that are primarily in other counties, but I think it would be nice at least to mention some highways that are in worse condition inside our boundaries. So I would make the amendment to include highways 813 and 827.
Thank you. And if I just may, 813 is on the radar already. If you have a look at Alberta Transportation's projects, 813 is already there, and I'm not sure it's in the design, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked, which was a couple of days ago. So I'm not sure that 813 is necessary. We can definitely add it, but they are already going forward with 35 kilometers, I believe it is, pavement for that one. Councillor Cromwell?
Thank you. Though I appreciate the member Cross's commitment to those other roads, I do recall that there was conversation about the need to make things very clear. And if we're adding another 2 roads, then we're going to add another 1 or 2 more. It takes away from the weight of that letter. If we want to do another bit of information to the Minister of Transportation afterward, fantastic. However, this was about Highway 2. Let's not muddy the waters. Let's not make things more difficult, more convoluted than they require to be, and keep it at Highway 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kapitaniak, and then Councillor Wallach.
I'm just opposed to sending a letter at all. I think that we have enough face-to-face communication with ministers and all of the events and conferences and meetings that we have, that we likely have already spoken to these highways and or will continue to lobby for them in the future. And it's not just about the highways. It's about bridges. It is about infrastructure that is important for all our corridors. But to be I want to say a gnat in someone's ear is not always positive and doesn't always get you the best results. And I think that we should be a lot more pinpointed and focused on what we lobby transportation for, instead of just sending a letter at the whim of every thought that crosses this table. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And just in a follow-up to that, the letter that came forward to us from our resident, in my personal opinion, and as mentioned in our last meeting, we are advocates for our residents. And I personally believe it's extremely important when they take the time to write to us and ask us for help. And of course, it's again up to council, but my personal opinion is that we do what we can to help our residents. So I'm very much in support of sending that letter. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on Councillor Chamzik on the amendment?
Do you want to see Mrs. Wallach?
Oh, pardon me. Yes, I apologize. Thank you, Councillor Wallach.
Thanks. I do agree with Councillor Kapitaniak. We need to be focused on our efforts, but if we are going to be adding in a letter that's not in our county, I would advocate for 813 north of 35 kilometers. If anybody's driven to Calling Lake, it is terrible.
Thank you. Councillor Mins? Oh, Councillor Chamzik?
That's all right. It happens. Well, and I mean, and I do agree with, we do have a lot of opportunity to meet with ministers and whatnot, but I also am a big fan of squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I mean, while we have these opportunities, I mean, we have these highways, in my opinion, to lump them together is not beneficial, and it's not going to get the messaging across. I think it'd be great as council is if we pick those priority highways and wrote letters. I mean, as administration writes the letters anyways, I don't think it's much more than a signature and discussion on any other part.
Thank you. Councillor Mins? Sorry, I thought you.
Yeah, and just regarding the amendment and that, we're advocating for our ratepayer that brought this forward, and we're advocating over a section of highway that is actually in Athabasca County from Prairieville to south of Rochester. So I don't see why we can't send a letter on behalf of the county, on behalf of the ratepayer. I don't see the big problem here. And if you want to advocate for another highway, go ahead and advocate for it. But as Councillor Cromwell said, keep it separate. Don't muddy the water. You may as well just we'd like to see all the highways in Athabasca County paved. But that's not what this letter is saying. It's saying to look at Highway 2. I was driving down a highway last weekend that was very rough in that too, and it was outside of our county, and I think it should be paved too. But it's like we have somebody that has actually wrote a letter into Athabasca County and asking for council support, and I can't see the problem with it. We're not standing in front of the minister nattering in his ear. We're actually just sending him a letter stating what our ratepayers are looking at, and to muddy it with every highway, it goes nowhere.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion and we're ready to vote on the amendment, last chance. Alrighty, on the amendment to include highways 813 and 827. That's Councillor Hall's amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
2, 3, and opposed? 6, the amendment fails. And on the main motion, which I believe was Deputy Reeve Minns to direct administration to draft a letter for the Reeve signature regarding the current condition of Highway 2 from Athabasca to Clyde and send it to the Minister of Transportation. There's no further discussion. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and opposed? 1, 2, 3,
Nay.
4, 5 and 4. Thank you. Alrighty, we're moving into item 7.1, page 40 of your agenda package. This is the animal control bylaw 010/2025 from the public hearing this morning. I'm going to ask if staff, if the director or the chief would like to weigh in here on this report.
Administration recommends that council passes this bylaw as
Okay.
presented.
Alrighty. So from discussion this morning, we've heard from four, is it 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Ratepayers on their concerns, or no, it was 4. 4 or 5, all right. But is there discussion with regards to the public hearing this morning that anybody needs clarification on that we didn't receive? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, can you please confirm that there's no fee for an over limit permit included in this copy of the bylaw that we're reviewing?
Through the chair to Councillor Anderson, that is correct. There is no fee for an over limit permit. The confusion might be about a fine amount for non-compliance, but there is no fee for the actual permit.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wasn't able to find it when we were going through.
Councillor Hall?
Through the chair to administration, can you clarify the MGA permits the county to enter lands within the county in a wide variety of circumstance? Both for assessment, for building inspections, et cetera. Like because we heard there was a great deal of concern about, people just showing up. But I think that's something that probably already exists in the provincial legislation. This isn't something that's been cooked up by the county.
Sorry, is there a question there that needs?
Yeah, the question was, can you confirm that that is in the MGA?
If you want.
Madam Chair, unless I'm mistaken, this draft received legal review by our solicitor and twice and agreed with our final wording.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chamzik, and then Councillor Anderson, and then Councillor Cromwell.
I just had a question on, is there a need for clarification between working dog and the guardian dogs?
We had a lot of discussion and research in that avenue, and because it, what we define as working and what other people define as working isn't necessarily the same thing. We felt that the over limit permit allows for us to assess those situations, and every situation is going to be different.
Thank you. I believe it was Counselor Anderson, then Cromwell, and then Counselor Capitani.
Thank you. Sorry, as a follow-up, I wasn't able to see anywhere in here where the permit expires for the over limit permit. Is it an annual permit that they would have to receive, or is it kind of like a development permit where you apply for it and then it's valid unless a situation occurs where it would be revoked?
Through the chair to Councilor Anderson, it was our intent to have it as a similar to other permits we have where they're recurrent, where we don't actually have to reapply. It's a one-time application unless it's rescinded.
Counselor Cromwell?
Thank you. I know that member across me asked about the legality or in the MGA, and I know that we were just told it was reviewed by legal counsel. However, can you please inform me, and I apologize that I cannot find it, under what section of the law do we have the right to enter into their buildings for the purpose of inspection
There's no building.
without warrant? And under 3.5 of your bylaw on page 47, excluding a private dwelling. So we're per bylaw saying that we can enter your shed, your Quonset, your garage, your barn, all of your outbuildings for the purpose of doing our inspection by our bylaw and CPO member.
As a point of order.
As a.
That actually just
Under
says
that bit of
seizing and
law
impounding.
is-
Point of order has been called, please, sorry.
Madam Chair, I think just for clarity on 3.5, it talks about. Never mind, sorry, I withdraw that.
I will say, though, it is excluding any private dwelling for the purpose of inspecting for compliance with this bylaw. But are you referring to other outbuildings?
As I was stating, yes, you have your garages, your barns, your sheds, your Quonset, your multitude of structures on a farm property, on an acreage property. What piece of legislation and law allows us without warrant to enter for the purpose of inspecting for compliance in addition to seizing of an animal?
As the CAO spoke to earlier, we had extensive legal review on this bylaw.
Follow up, would we be able to get that piece of legislation, please, that tells us that is what piece of law allows us to do that? I realize it has been looked at by legal counsel apparently twice. However, people do miss things. There are things that are overlooked. I would like to know what piece of legislation allows us without warrant to do that for the purpose of inspecting for compliance with this bylaw.
Being that, again, it's been mentioned through legal, right? And it's been vetted through legal a couple of times. My question then maybe to Councillor Cromwell, would you like to see an amendment to 3.5 that says excluding any private dwelling and outbuildings?
I understand how parts of this are worded. For the purpose of seizing or impounding an animal. Now that will tell me that Mr. Cromwell has a dog and that dog is a naughty dog. And that naughty dog has caused issue. And as such, the county staff have to come by in and deal with Mr. Cromwell's naughty dog. I understand that completely. I understand that Mr. Cromwell might want to hide his naughty dog from the county forces because the family loves Mr. Cromwell's naughty dog. However, for the purpose of inspecting for compliance, that to me, that sounds like that would be like the federal government going, hey, I want to be able to have any any police officer, anybody come and say, hey, I want to go through everything you have in your phone just to make sure you're not being naughty. I find that incredibly inappropriate. I find that incredibly dangerous. And I find the wording in 3.5 on that bylaw to be vastly inappropriate. And I'm not sure yet how the change in that wording needs to go. But regardless of the fact that we were told it was seen by legal, I would like legal to review that 3.5 with the concerns noted here in this room and get an opinion back before we proceed with what could be a grievous violation of people's rights. There's a huge difference in for the purpose of seizing or impounding a dangerous animal and for the purpose of inspecting for compliance with this bylaw.
Okay, I think,
Madam Chair, section 542, subsection 1 of the MGA is titled Municipal Inspections and Enforcement. It reads as follows. If this or any other enactment or a bylaw authorizes or requires anything to be inspected, remedied, enforced, or done by a municipality, a designated officer of the municipality may, after giving reasonable notice to the owner or occupier of the land or the structure to be entered, to carry out the inspection, remedy, enforcement, or action, comma, subsection A, enter on that land or structure at any reasonable time and carry out the inspection, enforcement, or action authorized or required by the enactment or bylaw. Subsection B, request anything to be produced to assist in the inspection, remedy, enforcement, or action. And subsection C, make copies of anything related to the inspection, remedy, enforcement, or action. Subsection 1.1 states a consent signed under section 653 is deemed to be reasonable notice for the purpose of subsection 1. Subsection 2 says the designated officer must display or produce on request identification showing that the person is authorized to make the entry. Subsection 3, in an emergency or in extraordinary circumstances, the designated officer need not give reasonable notice or enter at a reasonable hour and may do the things in subsection 1, A, and C without the consent of the owner or occupant. Subsection 4, nothing in this section authorizes the municipality to remedy the contravention of an enactment or bylaw.
thank you. Counselor, okay. Would you like to weigh in here? And I see that Counselor Wallach, I just want to make sure that I see, you know, that I see you, and Counselor Kapitanic is after Counselor Cromwell. However, I think Chief Shalapai would like to respond to Counselor Cromwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make one more comment on here as well. I know we're talking about impounding naughty dogs, but if you look at section 15, where we have the basic care requirements for an animal, if we do receive a complaint regarding animal welfare and animal distress, malnourished, without the ability to go in and do the inspection, we're unable to actually take care of 15.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, and you're after Counselor Wallach. Counselor Capitan, or do you want to follow up, Counselor Cromwell?
Thank you, I would. In reading 5.4 sub 1 by the CAO, and which I will read again, if this or any other enactment or a bylaw authorizes or requires anything to be inspected, remedied, enforced, or done by municipality, a designated officer of the municipality may, after giving reasonable notice to the owner or occupier of the land or structure to be entered, carry out the inspection, remedy, enforcement, or action. Where in this bylaw then does it give a notice period as required in the MGA?
I believe that the MGA definitely trumps the bylaw. So it would I'm just speaking off the top of my head here, just in thought, but I would think that if there is notice to be given, the MGA and the MGA specifies that, that would have to be followed by the enforcement officers. Does it need to be specified in the bylaw?
Madam Chair, that's correct. If we're conducting an investigation, we're making contact, we're making, again, all the requirements to comply with the MGA to go in and do that. The only time we would use the emergency provision, and I will speak to a situation we've had in the last year where an individual was incarcerated and he had an animal. And after the animal being unattended for about a week, someone called into us saying, hey, there's an animal there, it's in distress. We're unable to get written approval, and that's an emergent situation. So under the emergency provisions, we enter in there to make sure that the animal is being tended to, fed, watered, and isn't in distress. So again, it's not specifically noted in here because it depends on the situation that we're facing at the time.
Okay, thank you. And again, Councillor Cromwell, by all means, if there's something that you would like to add or to the bylaw, we're only at second reading. Councillor Capitan, oh, yeah, Councillor Capitani, Councillor Wallach, and then Councillor Hall, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I have a statement prepared more so than a question, so bear with me. I believe the people of our community have been speaking loudly that they are not happy with this bylaw or its rollout. I suggested public engagement a long time ago, and perhaps we need engagement on what engagement the public would benefit from. But if the time of day for some is not good for all, perhaps we need to budget extra admin time to acknowledge that we are here to meet the people when they're available, not when we're available. We need to let the people be involved in a way that they feel heard and respected. Does that look like a community-driven ad hoc committee, perhaps to research and help create a bylaw foundation or bones? I don't know, but I do know the community is not feeling heard and respected, and that's on us as a council. I acknowledge the residents of this county, I acknowledge that the residents of this county need a bylaw that protects them and their own dogs, their family, and their livestock. They need to protect themselves from problem animals. I don't believe that this is a law to do it. In its current form, it is creating fear and resentment in our community members that are not only responsible owners, but diligent in supporting the needs of our animals that would otherwise be at large or at risk of hurting others or themselves. The bylaw states registering is the key for responsible owners, and that will continue to be unchanged. I see this as a type of punishment for doing good. This bylaw assumes residents, specifically those who rescue or foster, as we heard speaking today, have all kinds of time, free time during their business hours to keep this office updated on the animals in their residence. How ignorant is it to demand your residents' time and energy so that we can satisfy the need to push through a bylaw as intricate and complex as this? The people want more. They want more say, and this means slow down. Take a minute and start communicating with people. Despite councillors having discussed this at length, and I respect the immense time admin has worked on this, I still feel the clear message from the people is that they want more input. And that means we need to slow down. That's all.
Thank you.
And also, I agree with Councillor Cromwell, we need to state how much time should be given.
In the bylaw.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wallach, you're up, and then Councillor Hall.
Thank you. Just to clarify for the fostering of the dogs, 6.2.6 kind of speaks to that. Could admin maybe talk about the process of how they would like this to roll out?
Just so everybody knows what 6.2.6 is the owner has written approval from the county and is in documented partnership with an animal rescue, animal shelter, or licensed veterinarian clinic for the purposes of temporary fostering of an animal.
As far as Councillor Chamzik's question goes, once third reading of this bylaw is passed, the previous bylaw is rescinded and this bylaw is in place.
Okay, and then Councillor Wallach mentioned the fostering of animals. I'm sorry, what exactly was the question, Councillor Wallach? I was too busy looking for the point in the bylaw.
I guess, like, do you want the shelters to be emailing? So I'm just wondering, like, who's responsible for reporting?
Through the chair to Councillor Wallach, for the section 626, we just need some documented evidence. So whether that's initiated by the foster owner or the kennel, we need to have some sort of documentation to show that they are in a partnership with that organization.
Okay, does that satisfy Councillor Wallach?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hall.
So we've heard a number of objections in the folks that took the time to come and speak to us today. But I mean, really, most of those are in a fairly consistent theme. And I've actually had zero negative feedback on this bylaw. And the theme of the feedback we heard today I think the majority of those objections are actually addressed through section 7. To some degree, it's my feeling that a couple of the answers probably reflected maybe a lack of understanding or a lack of having read the bylaw, because the question was fairly basic and not directly answered. And so I worry that there's objections that are not founded in the basis of the bylaw. We have already heard from admin that legal counsel has been consulted, that this is lawful and reasonable. And as we get into talking about these ad hoc shelters, do we really want ad hoc shelters all over the county that do not have development permits? Like section 6.23 talks about development permits to operate, among other things, but an animal boarding facility. If you're going to board animals on a regular basis, get a development permit and do it right. It isn't okay to start running an ad hoc development permit or ad hoc boarding facility without getting it properly approved. We've heard many times in the past objections to this, just do it and, come what may. If we want to run a boarding facility, then get a development permit to get approved to do it. So I really think most of the objections are addressed through section 7. We have a very reasonable administrative team and have continued to have over many years. I think they have the common sense and the discretion to handle this properly. And this is, as we all have heard for almost 4 years, our peace officer program is not proactive in looking for trouble. They deal with complaints and deal with issues. And this is a tool that the CAO's staff have asked for in order to deal with problems they're not able to adequately deal with. And so I would be happy to move second reading on this and keep moving this forward.
Thank you. Councillor Kapchanik and then Councillor Wallach.
Okay, I'll just take this moment just to, through the chair, reply. Every boarding facility or shelter that is considered registered and legitimate started once with someone, a heart, a home, and a garage, and maybe even a kiddie pool where some stray dog had a litter of puppies that they didn't know what to do with. I would like to venture that most farmers that live along highways, my late grandparents included, would be running ad hoc pet care facilities for every animal that's dropped off alongside the highway. Not everyone has a cold enough heart to put animals down consistently on their own just because of the location in which they live. And if the truth of the matter that you want to go after people that are taking care of stray animals because they have a heart, again, the question is, where are those animals going? Our shelters are full. This council in years past has not looked kindly upon happily handing out permits for new ones. And we should be grateful that there are community members that will take animals in. There are shelters everywhere begging for money. People, they want foster homes for dogs. People, if anything, we should be subsidizing spay and neuter clinics. Maybe that's where this needs to go. But the point is, there is a lot bigger problem with people than just having a couple of dogs running loose here and there. If you start penalizing those that are taking care of them, you're going to have dogs everywhere. Okay. That, or they're just going to be euthanized, properly or not. And I don't want to be responsible for that.
Thank you. Councillor Wallach, then we have Councillor Deputy Reeve Mins, and we have Councillor Cromwell.
Sorry, I just forgot to lower my hand there.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Deputy Reeve.
I don't know. I don't see anything anywhere in this bylaw that it says we're disheartening people. We're telling them you can't do this. We asked them to get a permit we asked them to get a permit. And if they want to have more than so many dogs, it's not like we're asking them to give us their firstborn. And so to say that we're disheartening people and pushing dogs and cats or whatever it is to be euthanized, I do not see that in this permit. I don't know. I don't even understand. And if it's important for you to address this bylaw, you'll make time to come and address it. It's. I know out in Division 8, there was a kennel there, and this councils before us went through actual heck regarding that whole kennel thing and that, we're going through it in Division 4 right now. Or we were prior, and it's just all this permit, all this bylaw saying is be a reasonable pet owner. That's all it's doing. And if you're not gonna be a reasonable pet owner, well, then you're gonna probably see the county.
Thank you.
That's it.
If Councillor Chamzak after Councillor Cromwell, but if I may just quickly, I have a question with regards to the over limits. We're not saying that someone is limited with the number of animals, but what I am seeing is there is a refuse to grant an over limit permit. Can you tell me what grounds that would, a refusal would be given?
Madam Chair, so that'd be a tough one to explain without actually having a scenario. So that just gives the enforcement team an opportunity. Let's say you've got a lake lot and they've got 40 large animals that lake lot cannot substantiate. We're not hand tied to saying, yes, you automatically will get it forever or automatically. But there has to be a certain amount of reasonability in there. But that's, again, a one-off exaggerated case. Like this is not something that's the intent of the over limits.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Councillor Cromwell and Councillor Chamzak.
Thank you. I think something very simple, either added to our definitions or added as 3.5.1. Something very much along the lines of unless in a documented emergency or extraordinary circumstance, the county will issue the landowner a 5 business day notice before entering a property for inspection.
So this would be, are you adding this as an amendment?
I am.
Okay, to the second reading, okay. So that's for consideration. And are you needing any clarification? Are you're done with your comment that we can go to Councillor Chamzak?
Again, I will leave that up to administration, whether they feel that is better served as a note under a notice period and then a definition made under the definition, or added after 3.5, but something that alleviates the concern of the ratepayer that the county's not just going to show up because I'm out going for a drive and you know what, I'm going to come and check every one of your 32 outbuildings, your garage, your shed, your Quonset and everything that's not your residential dwelling house because I want to do an inspection. So that safety for our ratepayers is vitally important.
Thank you. Councillor Chamzak, then Councillor Anderson and
You
Councillor.
know, I really hate repeating myself. I don't personally have any of those concerns, but you know, I don't see administration that being an issue. I mean, oftentimes when we start something, it's always, there's gotta be a starting point. We've made amendments, we've made mistakes and we've grown and we've learned. And I mean, at this point, I mean, a lot of the concerns addressed with the limit permits, I think, are addressed through there, my personal opinion. I agree with the counselor beside me here. I think we have to start somewhere. And I mean, and if there is an issue, we can always bring it back to, just saying.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Administration brought this forward at the January 16th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. And a lot of the notes that I looked back on that I'd taken there were that they had noted issues. They had noted concerns and recurring situations of dogs attacking people on walking trails or attacking kids getting off the school bus or not being properly contained. And they didn't feel that the current bylaw had enough teeth to actually be able to enforce on those situations and to be able to relieve those situations. I don't recall in any time between then and now them saying that they want to start more proactive enforcement. That they've reiterated on multiple occasions that they want to remain complaint-based, but that when a complaint is issued, they needed a bylaw where they could enforce on those issues. And I think that they've done a great job of trying to incorporate some of the concerns and issues that came apart when our neighbors in Westlock County went through a very similar process. And so while I know that not everybody's going to love the bylaw or have faith that we aren't going to become more proactive enforcement. I do think that with the current strategies that we have in place here in Athabasca County, where we are complaint-based and we just need a tool to be able to enforce when there is an issue, that the current draft of the bylaw that's being proposed meets those requirements to be able to serve our community and address those issues when they're occurring.
Thank you. Counselor Gerlach.
Yes, I'm very much ticked off with you, Councillor Anderson, because I wanted to say almost that exact same thing. And I was waiting in part to. There is no way that you're gonna develop something that is perfect, that answers everybody's requirements or needs. The purpose of this is to deal with people that are unreasonable. The people that were here today were very unreasonable. And the parts of the bylaw,
Did you mean reasonable?
pardon?
Did you, just for clarity, did you mean they were very reasonable?
Very reasonable. And, oh, and I think it has to have the teeth in it to deal with the people that are not reasonable. I mean, there's common sense that can be applied to everything, and there isn't anybody that's gonna be going out, stopping every place and counting dog. If a problem does arise, it arises and it can be dealt with, and you have to have a policy that has enough strength to it that you can deal with the matters. I think Councillor Anderson was spot on, and I think we can move forward with it with fair confidence, because reasonable people are reasonable to deal with, and the unreasonable people, you have to have a stick, so.
All right, does anybody, Counselor Hall?
I think just to reinforce, we already have the ability to get into properties, and legal counsel has reviewed this, and so I'm of the view we should not be tweaking it. The proposed amendments are unnecessary, and I think they're covered. But also, in follow-up to the comments from a colleague, I doubt there will be proactive enforcement, and so if you happen to be the person who has 6 dogs over 10 acres, you know, honestly, if you manage that in a way that you don't bring it to the attention of anybody, I just don't see that ever coming to be a problem. Like, this is about dealing with problems, not about dealing with. Now, is it possible something's happened? Is it possible it's obviously it violates the bylaw? There are so many things that until they just go along status quo, until somebody makes a problem of it, and then it becomes an issue. And we've seen that in other areas too. I think we need to move ahead with at least second reading, and then we can discuss whether we want to pause third reading for the next meeting in order to give more time for feedback, which I don't support, because this has been on the agenda and part of the discussion since 2024. There's been lots of time for feedback.
Thank you. Alrighty, I think we've kind of gone around and around. This is an extremely important topic. This is dealing with situation where animals are family as well, and is very near and dear to people's hearts. So I don't mind spending extra time going through and having this conversation, as well as even if there's extra time. My concern here is hearing from residents over and over and over here in the last while, when this first came out, this last while, while it's coming up on the agenda, is the misunderstanding of quite a few of the points within the bylaw. So my question then becomes, if this passes, what kind of education are we able to provide in whether written form, whether it be online, something that helps explain some of the concerns that we've heard from residents? Because ultimately, that's who we're working for. We work for the residents. We understand that there is some misunderstanding with regards to the bylaw, but we need to clear that up. And I think we need to, out of respect, take the time to make sure that those misunderstandings are handled. So I am in favor of, yes, we have to, of course, deal with the amendment that we have on the table of looking at second reading, but I am not in favor of moving forward on third reading until we're able to address some of the education concerns that residents need to have to feel comfortable that we're doing right by them. But that's just my personal feeling. So on the amendment, Councillor Cromwell, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read that again, please, because I didn't write that down.
Unless in a documented emergency or extraordinary circumstance, the county will issue the landowner 5 business day notice before entering a property for inspection. And as I get final word on my bit of the motion,
As a
Uh,
point of order. Amendments don't get final. word.
Really, there isn't a final word. There, to be honest with you, if you read the bylaw,
Whatever.
if you read the procedural bylaws, different interpretation, go ahead. Please.
anyway, with
Because
the
that-
discussion around the table and the wording of, well, it's seen a lawyer and it's good. If you think that there's nothing in the MGA that will contradict that and you're not worried about it, why are you keeping it out?
Well, again, you know, if we were to put the whole MGA within our bylaws, they would be really big. And so the MGA definitely does trump the bylaw. And as you heard, enforcement already understands that there is notice that needs to be given. However, making it clear for the public when they read the bylaw is also important as well. All right, so are we at the stage of the amendment? And I understand that it's been given to Miss Leah to write down. So if everybody understands, go ahead.
For clarity, has somebody moved second reading and there's an amendment on the table, or is this just a motion to amend the draft bylaw as presented to us?
Just a motion to amend the draft
Thank you.
bylaws presented to us.
Although I did move second reading.
Yes, but I didn't read it. He said he would like to do second reading. I didn't say we were at second reading. So, sorry, but I think it's important that we deal with the amendment first, and then we can go on to second reading. All right, so if that's where we're at on the motion for the amendment to bylaw 010/2025, as was given to our recording secretary, all those in favor? 1, 2, and opposed? 2, 2.
Nay.
Okay, that amendment fails. And now we're on to the second reading. Counselor Hall would like to move second reading, that bylaw, on bylaw 010/2025 as presented. If we're ready to go, folks, all those in favor
Aye.
and opposed? That's 7 and 2. And we are at an opportunity to move to third and final reading as presented for bylaw 010/2025.
Madam Chair, before third reading
Mhm.
gets moved or not moved, would there, since we wobble around on our adherence to the rules, would we want to talk about whether we do want to have that discussion today before we actually put that on the table? Like, I know there are some views that maybe we should wait. There's some views that maybe we shouldn't. Perhaps it would benefit council to figure it out. If the majority are clearly ready to move ahead, then maybe we just need to keep moving.
Thank you. I'll speak to that. Actually, I'm not comfortable moving forward until we have some of this education piece given to our residents so that they're comfortable, but that's just my personal opinion. Councillor Gerlach and Councilman.
Just to administration, having heard some of the conversations this morning, are there any changes that you would see necessary or anything that you think needs to be dealt with, or?
Through the chair to Councillor Gerlach, at this time, we don't see any changes required.
Good, thank you.
I'm wondering, other than the bylaw, what educational piece are we looking at here? Like, we want to write, or what are we looking for education? Because there's, I don't know how you rebut everything in this bylaw. I think, yeah, so I'm just wondering what educational,
Are you asking me?
I'm asking anybody.
Sure, I'll help you.
Yeah.
So what I meant by that is, as was brought to our attention this morning, there's quite a few residents who this is new to them, even though it's been on our table for a year. People are still learning about it. It's a huge topic within our county and our residents and our community, and it's being spoken about pretty much everywhere I go. I've been asked now about the animal control bylaw. And when you speak to people, they're going, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I heard that differently. So by hanging on just for, till July 31st, in my opinion, till our next meeting, it gives an opportunity for people to feel a little more comfortable with the bylaw once it's been explained to them. Now, whether or not who they contact to ask those questions is entirely up to them. But I found that after speaking with quite a few people, they were a little more comfortable once they were understood it. and not having that opportunity to really sit down. Not everybody goes through the bylaws and the agendas and the meetings, like, you know, and has that same opportunity that we have. And so for me, it's just giving residents some respect of time. I know yeah, I hear you, but, there's just a lot of people. That's just my personal feeling. Go ahead, Councillor Chamzik and then Councillor Hall.
And like I said before, I really feel that, I mean, at some point we gotta throw it on the table, and I think it's right. My personal opinion, the concerns I feel have been addressed, and it can come back, with a 2/3 vote as well. But would it suffice you? Can communications write something on the website or just highlighting some of those concerns?
Oh, Councillor Wallach and then Councillor Gerlach.
Sorry, I thought I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Hall was first. Pardon me.
So a comment was kind of made, educate on what, I think I heard, and I had written that same idea down, like, what is it we're educating? We don't have a bylaw to educate to, so I don't think it makes sense to start trying an educational campaign on a bylaw that may or may not ever pass. And I wonder if it would be a more sensible process and compromise to educate on an actual bylaw that is about to come into force. And so, you know, maybe with admin's advice, could we make the effective effective upon and give it a date, like perhaps September 1 or August 1, so that if we invest money in educating people, which quite frankly, I'm not sure how much more comfortable we can do after 18 months of this being part of the discussion, but we can continue to put a more focused effort on it, perhaps. So by, you know, would the compromise be to make it effective August 1 or September 1? And I would have to look to the wise minds of admin to see if that is a reasonable choice. Then you've got the time in order to educate to something that actually is coming and something that actually exists. Because if you start educating people and then it fails third reading, what if you actually, like, now you've just created confusion. So I think third reading is in order, but maybe before, as seems to have been a practice in the past, before third reading gets presented, we you know, change 16.2 to read something else and move ahead on that basis. And then we can do the education we want, but also get this off the table, because our admin needs to do other things too. And
Understood.
that settles it for the day.
Yeah, just my personal opinion. And again, we're the voice of the people. And so if they don't understand of something that we're voting on, we have the obligation to help them understand. Councillor Gerlach and then Councillor Wallet.
I guess simplest way I can put it is let's buy it, let's drive it. And then let's see if we can iron out the wrinkles before the money back period runs out in 6 months or whatever. Kind of do a review, and because you're not going to get the you got to have something in place in order to get a response to it. And so I think let's go with it, with the idea that we'll review it in 6 months and just see if there's things that need to be changed.
Thank you. Councillor Wallach.
Thank you. Just a question to admin. When is the highest time for complaints for dogs? Is there a season that's specific to that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wallach, right about now, summertime is our hot topic for animal control.
And I guess one last question. Do we have by any chance the results from the online survey? What that looked like? I can't remember.
We can send that out to council again. It wasn't an agenda at one point. And you know, I can commit that our department will work with communications to maybe put together frequently asked questions or something like that. And as we get questions, we could tuck and roll and improve that communication with folks. I'm kind of just from talking with residents, I'm under the impression that the online survey was a lot of opposition, but that's just, I would really like to know those results. Anyway, we're at, was there an amendment? Sorry, Councillor Hall, was there anything you want to change or amended, or you're good with third reading?
Well, I mostly wanted to float that idea as a compromise to maybe, you know, move this along, because I think, you know, part of our job is to advance issues, and if there's some concerns from colleagues, we need to respect that, but also figure out how do you move things forward in a productive way. I could be okay with this coming into effect immediately because I think the stuff that I would tend to have concerns on are addressed in here through section 7 and the other stuff. But I mean, I would support a short-term change in date if that helped the table to feel comfortable.
All right, so who would like to, I'm assuming we're moving on to third and final reading, if there's no further discussion. And would someone like to? Correct, Counselor Gerlach? Counselor Gerlach would like to move that bylaw 010-2025 be given third and final reading as presented. If we're ready for the vote, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and opposed? 1, 2, 3. Counselor Wallach? I guess we're going, I think she might have stepped away. Are you?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Are you in favor of third reading?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 6 and 3. And has passed. All right. We move on to item 7.2, which is bylaw 012-2025 procedural bylaw amendment for electronic meetings. We are recommended from administration to give third reading to this bylaw. Is there any discussion prior to going to third reading? Counselor Mintz.
I'm still not in favor of taking out that, oh, he's gonna find it here, but taking out the number of meetings you can Zoom. I'm still not in favor of that. I think, in the wording of that part of the bylaw, it said if you came and talked to council, you could Zoom more meetings if it was required. And again, we're not heartless or anything like that, but it just keeps it just working as council, I think, is way better working around the table than it is on Zoom and all this other stuff, unless it's absolutely necessary. But I'm still not in favor of. Voted against it last time, I'll vote against it this time.
Thank you, Counselor Gerlach.
Yeah, we had 3 delegations that appeared before council today and came considerable distances to be here, and I just think that's disrespectful. If they show up at a meeting to meet with council and maybe only half of council's here. This job is supposed to be our priority. When you take this position, it's supposed to be your priority. And I think it's a priority to be in attendance, and there's no way I can support it.
Thank you. Is there anybody, Counselor Hall?
I think though attendance and participation are not the same. And to sit at the meeting and say nothing has less value in my mind in every day of the week than to be an active participant. And there are moments and times where participation electronically is what makes sense in the lives of the councillors. Like we're here to make the right decisions for the county based on our best ability. And while my preference is that, we're here in person as often as possible, for various reasons that I don't think are up to council to judge, every councillor is accountable to the ratepayers generally and specifically to the ratepayers that elect them. And so if they feel that for whatever reason they need to attend electronically, I would rather have them here electronically than not at all. And I don't think that I need to be their nanny to approve whether they show up electronically or not. So I think it's just a bit of overreach, and with the right culture, everybody will want to be here. But there are moments where, again, people will be attending other meetings on behalf of the county and then not be able to travel back in time. And I would rather them, again, be attending electronically so that we have the benefit of their expertise and comments. And I'd be prepared to move third reading as presented and would move third reading as presented.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Okay, I'll just add again, as we are the voice of our residents, this is another one that has been a hot topic of discussion. And I'll just mention the overwhelming resident opinion is the expectations are that counselors are to be in chambers as best they can, that it's wonderful to have this technology that allows us to still participate when we are absolutely unable to be here. But their concern is abuse of that particular technology and not making that effort to be in chambers. So that's just, don't bite the messenger. That is just the overwhelming conversations that took place. So being, again, we are the voice and of our residents, I am also in opposition of removing that particular section from the bylaw, as we know that there's definite provisions that can be made to go outside those six visits on Zoom. All right, so with that, Councillor Hall would like to go ahead and that council give third reading to bylaw 0112/2025. Is there any further discussion? Alrighty, we're going to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
2, 3, 4, and opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So third reading fails.
So, Madam Chair, just so you know, we're bringing back another bylaw then. We're still required to comply with Bill 20. Is it Bill 20? I can't remember the bill anymore. And our current procedural bylaw doesn't. So we're going to bring back something until council passes an amendment so we comply with the MGA.
Thank you. Alrighty, the next item we have is on page 63 of your agenda package, and that is 8.1. So financial variance report, May 31st, 2025, page 63. The recommendation here from administration is to receive the May 31st, 2025 financial variance report and bank statement as information, but I will turn it over to Director Emily, if you would like to weigh in, or to Mr. Lackey.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of council. The variance report is before you. We made great stride in cleaning it up the last few months. Our managers have been very responsive and very supportive. It's not a perfect report at this point, but we are continually improving it. So we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Would Councillor Hall?
On page 66, line number 1550. Return on investment. I'm just wondering if you can comment on why at 41% of the way through the year, we're only at 5% of our expected revenue. Our interest earnings.
1550 here, interest.
So whenever we do our bank rec, we actually reconciled our interest revenue. Right now we're at March and we're still reconciling a lot of the banking. We got behind because of the audit, to be honest with you, but we're gonna be on top of it in the next report for sure.
So just so that we're all clear, we're reconciling to March. So the reliability of this has there are things missing in the statements as presented.
Because for the bank rec portion of it, we always do it's basically all the statements from the county's bank account. So we're just trying to reconcile. We just recently had a transition of staff as well. And that's the main reason why we're kind of behind on that.
I'm sure the reconciliation is a very onerous task with the number of transactions that occur here. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to weigh in on the financial report? You would like to move the recommended motion? I would just like to say thank you. There is a huge amount of work that has gone into this and it's very much appreciated. And as you mentioned, there's still work to be done. And as always, we look forward to seeing that work come forward. it's, for me, it's really great to see where we're at. And I think that you've done a really good job at doing that. So thank you very much. So if we don't have any further discussion, Councillor Chamzik would like to receive the May 31st, 2025 financial variance report and bank statement as information. If we're good to go, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't believe there, yep, I don't believe there's any opposed. So that would be 8-0. Thank you. All right, item 8.2, the budget and reserve transfers. I'm not going to read the whole recommendation, which is on page 106 of your report, but I will turn the floor over to Director Ambley for comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of council. First of all, I want to apologize. There was a page missing in the RFD when it was submitted to you, and I only caught it yesterday, and it was my fault. I must have taken out a page before I submitted it to Ms. Blair, so I apologize for that. The page was really important because it explained every single part of the motion that we're presenting to you. So basically, going through the budget, we're mid-year now. We're seeing that we're needing some adjustments to the budget. As previously reported, some budget lines were not included within the budget, certain budgets. So the motions before you speak to a number of areas where we have shortfalls, or we'd like to adjust the budget lines so that the variance report is more accurate, rather than seeing such variances within the report. And some unexpected costs, such as the wildfire and the police funding. Also, we saw a shortfall in there, and our auditing went up a little bit. So we just want to balance the books. And this motion, this very long motion before you, is a result of many of these transactions. So if you like, we can walk you through every single bullet, or if you have any specific questions. And again, I don't know how much time you've had to read this one page.
Thank you very much. I'll put it to the floor. Does council want to go through each bullet item, or just to have any questions that you would like to pose? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. With regard to the financial audit, I'm wondering, do we have a contract in place with the auditor? Or why are we expecting to be $20,000 over the budgeted amount? Like, that seems like a 50% overrun. Did we sign a scope change with them, or and how does that work?
Madam Chair, members of council, we actually, through the auditor, we have a proposal from them. We don't have an actual contract. It was just through the proposal. There was no really scope change. They did get approval from us previously to extend additional work based on some of the issues. One of it was finding files, gathering information. So they had to actually dig in a little bit deeper than typically. Part of it too was staff turnover. So that's why there was an extra cost in there.
Thank you. You're okay? Follow up?
Well, I do think that they should honor the prices from the proposal when they estimated those prices and they were awarded it. I think we would expect that of a construction contract unless there is a formal change. So I'm just kind of sad to see that, but I understand.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who has any questions? Councillor Gerlach, and then Councillor Mins.
Is there another Cape Sale project this year? Or is that from last year?
Sorry,
Proposed Cape Sale project.
so just to be clear, that's the way it was termed in the budget. But it's a soil stabilization project that was tendered out. So it's basically soil, cement and chip seal. So not a true Cape Seal project that some of you might be familiar with that term, but it's a soil stabilization, basically cement and double chip seal. And there's 3 proposed locations.
But it's the same project that was in the budget.
Yeah.
Just the tender came in way higher than we expected.
Yes.
And so these amendments would allow us to move forward.
Go ahead, please, Deputy Rins.
So while we're discussing, so we have the extra money to be able to, because it came in over budget instead of cutting down on a project or something like that. We have the extra money to be able to do these projects.
If council passes this motion, otherwise we don't.
Okay. Okay,
So basically what we're looking for is the additional 217,000 really. The rest was in budget.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no, that's good information. $15,000 from general operating reserves to the recreational services budget for the multiplex capital expenses. Why all of a sudden we're bumping it up by 15,000?
Well, that's because we bumped it down when the town lowered it, but our motion was to match the town's contributions, so.
The motion was to not exceed.
So the town put in an extra $15,000
Correct. And so,
onto the capital side of the,
correct.
so they're actually giving another 15,000 to paint the theater?
I
So-
believe in the budget, if it mentions the town is, that's where that 15,000 is that the town put in. That's going against the paint, right?
Yeah.
In that, it's mentioned in that budget, okay.
So we're putting 15,000 in the capital, but they're putting 15,000 into operating.
No, Madam Chair, it's my understanding they raised the 15,000 on their capital portion, if I'm not mistaken, from 90 to 105, and the purpose of our motion is to match what the town is doing.
And the motion, I believe, is not match, it's not
It's
exceed.
to not exceed, but we propose to match it. Let's be honest. Let's not kid ourselves here. We're
Right.
proposing to send a check for $15,000 in addition to the 90.
Understood, it's just the motion is.
Yeah,
being
just so it's clear though, that
Right. just to be clear.
if you passed it, we intend to send.
And if I can jump in, when that motion was made, the intent of it was our budget was higher than the town's. So it was just to limit our budget to what they put in. It wasn't like, we have subsequently lowered our budget down. But at the time the motion was made, that language was based on saying, we have this bigger amount approved, but we won't give away more than what they're doing.
No,
But then somewhere along the way, we actually lowered our total budget.
I totally understand that. It's like all of a sudden. I'll just say it out loud here, they're getting a little bit of operating capital ahead of what we're trying to do with them, so I'm not happy with that, but underhandedness.
Okay, is there anyone else who has anything to add? I just have one quick question. I haven't done the math, but being that we came in under budget for the Collinton Bridge and we had asked that 220,000 be drawn from the reserves. Are we around the $220,000 in savings that it wouldn't have to come from reserves? I haven't done the math and I apologize. I know I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, we don't have that information before us to confirm.
Okay, so I'm just assuming if there is, then the savings that's where it goes back into. Okay.
Yes, it would go back to surplus.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And I just had one other quick question, just with regards to the bullet point. I don't know what page it's on. Maybe it's on the same one. Anyway, it's just with regards to the change from the transferring $20,000 from contracted services for the election preparation returning officer. I'm assuming that there is no concern then that the returning officer is sufficiently funded if we remove it from there. They're still sufficiently funded, I'm assuming.
Yes, Madam Chair, originally we were going to contract the returning officer position, but we now have somebody internally doing that. So there's a portion in that salary that is already covered. So we had this extra $40,000, which we thought we can just draw money from that rather than from reserves.
Thank you very much for that clarity. I appreciate that. Okay. Is there any further discussion from council? Alrighty, did anybody pick the recommended motion? Did anybody own it? Who would like to own it? Counselor Gerlach would like to own it. There you go. Counselor Gerlach would like to, move the recommended motion for the budget and reserves transfers. How about that? All right. If there's no further discussion, you do. Go ahead.
Actually, just one more. I was just looking here, the 350,000 from road construction for dust control. Is our dust control went up that much? We needed to hunt down 350 grand.
I can. Previously, when I got here, the budget for dust control was split kind of between ratepayer versus county. This is just a consolidation of budgets so that there's one dust control budget. So we'll be able to figure out how much was ratepayer request, but it's just a consolidation of the budgets to have one dust control budget.
Yeah, because okay, yeah.
All good? All good. All right. So are we ready for that vote now that Counselor Gerlach put forward? The motion that Counselor Gerlach put forward, if we're all ready to go? No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And it doesn't appear any opposed. Awesome. Thanks again for going through all of this. It's a huge job. Oh, you're good? Okay, thank you. I thought maybe you might have wanted to add something, but thank you again. We are on item 8.3, which is page 109 of your package. This is the Rotary Club of Athabasca donation in-kind request. I just have a quick question on this one, if I may, because I had asked for it to come on. Great project that's happening down on the riverfront, and an in-kind request is always a really great way to go. But I was just curious about it only being $750 for labor and gravel. So 25 yards of 3/4 inch gravel and a day's labor only coming to 750. How did we come? Oh, sorry, he's gone.
Madam Chair, members of council, we actually consulted with the Director of Infrastructure Services for a cost. So
Okay,
he felt that 750 would be sufficient.
for the gravel and yeah, wow, okay, thank you. All right, is there any discussion, Counselor Anderson?
I'll move the recommended motion.
Counselor Anderson would like to move the recommended motion, and that is to approve an in-kind donation of 1 day of labor and 25 yards of 3/4 inch gravel to the Rotary Club of Athabasca for base preparation of the Rotary Pavilion at the Riverfront Play Park, and further to source the funds from the grants to organizations budget. Counselor Chamzik.
Just a little confused. So, and I'm all for, these are great things, 1,000%. But 1 day of labor, is that just like one person? Because I mean, doing the math on that doesn't add up in my head. Not that I'm against, I want to be very clear about that. But I guess I have to trust administration's numbers, it just isn't mathing right to me.
I'm also confused. I thought that would just be for the gravel and it didn't include the labor.
I could,
Counselor Kempton.
I can't speak to what anything costs or what kind of labor it takes, but anytime you see a project like a playground being built or something, you have 20 volunteers there. So we're not gonna need maybe as much staff as if it was a hired county project. You need someone to drop off the gravel.
Can I just follow up? I have I totally 100% get that. I just, it'd be nice, to, in my opinion, reflect those numbers better.
Yeah, okay, Counselor Mins.
I feel exactly the same way. I'm not talking against doing this work because I think it's great to do. But maybe show, we used to have a standard cost of $26 a yard in Athabasca County, and I don't know what it's at now. I don't know what the standard cost is going across the county, so if it was actually projected at $1,000 or something like that of in-kind work, great. If it's I'd just like to have the actual true cost.
Madam Chair, to simplify this, because you guys are getting really in the weeds, the recommendation is just to do it. If you're comfortable with doing it, it doesn't actually talk about a dollar value in the recommendation, in the motion. So we'll add it up and we'll subtract that amount from that budget. If it's more than that, that's fine, or
I guess that's the biggest thing with putting down numbers. As soon as you put them down, people start questioning it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, why are we discussing it? It's just, well, just to make the numbers match.
we
but-
probably never should have quoted you a number and said, well, because we've done that with other projects where we volunteered a whole bunch of gravel at other projects and,
And, you know, sometimes it's great to have that information because like, I know when doing grants and stuff, having those volunteer hours count for something as well.
And I just, please, if I may, Director Ambley, also this, if I'm not mistaken, this amount that we're agreeing to would come off of our total for our grants to organizations. So that's why it's just,
Yes, Madam Chair, and that's why we phrased it this way, is that you'll see the dollar value when the report comes to you in the future with the grants to organizations. But also putting a dollar value later on, at least we can tell the community, this is the dollar value that the county has contributed to the community. So we just didn't want to donate it and money in, money out. We wanted to show in our books later on that this is what the county council has contributed to the community.
okay, thank you. Alrighty. Are we ready for the vote? Councillor Anderson's motion, recommended motion. I won't read it again. If we're ready to go, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't believe there's any opposed. Thank you. 8.3, oh, we just finished. Where are we at? We are at 9.2. Meeting calendars for July and August, page 139 of your package. There we go. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and start, and then we can go around the table. Monday, just because it's on here, the Legion, there was the military motorcycle police. They've asked for myself and Mayor Blade to be there, so that's on June 30th at 2:30. July 1st, the River Rats committee has asked for remarks to be made by myself at the flag raising, which is noon on July 1st. And I think there was a leftover question from last meeting about the July 15th committee of the whole meeting of whether or not canceling or moving.
Yeah, I've talked to administration and they said we could
Cancel,
cancel it.
okay. The committee of the whole on July 15th is up on the calendar to cancel at this point from the chair. Councillor Cromwell?
Thank you. For July and August, speaking with Director Wilkinson, we're proposing to move the MPC meetings from 9:15 till 9 a.m. to support the agenda needs that we can get done in approximately 25 minutes.
Okay. So that's July 31st and August 28th for 9 o'clock for MPC rather than 9:15. Councillor Mins?
So, should hit here, June 27th. So tomorrow we have a special meeting with the regional water commission at Boyle, right? At 9:30. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's been sent out, eh?
Special meeting?
Yeah, special meeting,
What
starting
time?
9:30 at Boyle. Have a Alice meeting on July 7th in Westlock. Starting at 10. Cancel the committee of the whole meeting on the 15th, and then we have a Athabasca Regional Waste meeting it was canceled on the 23rd of June and moved to July 21st.
Is that a 9:30?
That one there, yeah, starts at, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, okay,
Yeah.
10 a.m. All right. Anybody, Councillor Anderson, and then Councillor Champson.
Thank you. Being that July 1st marks the 3-year mark of the reduced service level at the Boyle Hospital, I'd like to propose that on July 2nd, whoever's available meets to take coffee and donuts to the staff at the healthcare center.
Okay, thank you.
The village counselors may join us again.
Yeah.
I just think it's a good way to recognize the impact that it's had on our community, and hopefully it'll be the last time we have to do it, because I think there's some great news coming down the line, so.
And you saw the email from the remarks from Mayor Durko on that as well?
Yes, and I had coffee with Mayor Durko yesterday, so I just thought, so to show the community that we haven't forgotten, because so much of the work that happens for the Boyle Hospital advocacy happens behind the scenes, and it's not really stuff that we can talk about publicly. Thought it would be something that we can acknowledge publicly, that the impact that it's had on our community there.
Okay. Thank you. And is there a time?
I would propose 10 a.m.
Okay.
If it's okay.
10 a.m.
Do we
Alright.
want to pass an actual motion so we can set a budget and everything again this year?
Sure.
Do it.
Sure, we can do that.
I'd make the motion.
Okay. You have a proposed
I think we
budget?
set the budget of $75 last year.
Okay.
And we definitely did not exceed it. So
Okay.
I would propose the same.
And does that
budget
come out
against.
of, where would that come out of? Retention committee?
Reeves salary,
Sorry?
the Reeves salary.
Perfect. Done deal. Yeah. But does that come out of the retention?
I would propose that it just comes out of our county funds. So, administration can find a line item for it, even if we came out of our budget that we have for our county lunches or council lunches or whatever it may be.
Okay.
I think it's a good signal that the county pays for it and doesn't expect a committee to pay for it, even though it's such a small amount.
Specifically from the county. Okay. I think if we may, we'll do the motion first and then we'll go back to calendars if that's okay with everybody. So on Counselor Anderson's motion to create a separate, well, not create, but provide $75 budget for a recognition for the Boyle Healthcare Center at 10 a.m. on July 2nd. Does that?
I don't think that everybody's available on the 1st, so I think the 2nd is the best day possible.
Okay, and that motion that is okay? The recognition, $75. All counselors who are available to attend. If we're ready for the vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
And I don't believe there was any opposed. Alrighty, so we'll carry on with calendars. Counselor Chamzig?
Village, August 19th, and I believe tentatively the 28th for the town.
And that was, I'm sorry, Boyle on the 19th?
Yes.
Okay, Boyle 19th and 28th, you said town? Another busy day. Alrighty, anybody else? Counselor Hall?
I wonder if there would be, if it would be sensible to just move the COW meeting to the 22nd. Rather than cancel it altogether, to permit time for council to talk about some of the potential closed session items that are coming up, like to revisit those in discussion, because I feel like based on what we know, some of those items may require multiple discussions, and based on follow-up from the IMC meeting, et cetera, it may benefit us to get together. But I would offer that as an idea and leave that to the CIO and the chair.
Well,
I guess I know that when we were discussing this, like to have meetings so close together when everybody's trying to go on holidays and have a little bit of time off, that's why we thought, okay, we'll just cancel the meeting and that way that gives administration a break to be able to go on their have their holiday time and that. So I don't know, that's what was discussed with administration. There wasn't a lot on the plate anyway, so it was like, okay, well then let's just cancel it and move it from there, but I don't know if, I'm sure that they can make a meeting, but I don't know, that might be too close to the to the next meeting.
And we always have the discretion to seek a special meeting if necessary, I guess is the alternative point of view.
Yeah.
And that way decisions can be made as well. I'm sorry, when was the IMC meeting again? When did we,
No, that was in August,
was it in August?
wasn't it?
I can't remember now. Do you remember when it was? Yeah. Right, there you go. All right. So yeah, as you mentioned, a special meeting can always be held if necessary. Does anyone else have any further for the calendars? If not, who's owning the motion to accept the calendars as amended? Councillor Cromwell would like to accept calendars as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I see no opposed. Calendars are complete. And we go into reports.
Sorry to interrupt, Reeve. I just have to leave for about half an hour.
I missed that. I'm
She
sorry.
has to leave.
Oh, okay, thank you. I believe we can take a recess for sure, folks, if everybody would like to. It's been an hour and a half since lunch, so
Yes.
and administration would like to as well. So let's take a 7-minute break, please. 2:13 on return, please. So I see we have Councillor Cromwell on Zoom at this point. We are at reports. And I believe, what did we have? We had the 11.1 W and AI, so the Island Lake Waterline Advisory Committee. There you go.
I had a meeting yesterday. Teams meeting, went very good. Sounds like progress is going along very well. Cut in any time. Were you there?
I was driving and did not attend.
Okay, not a problem. The got an alignment set through town, which is awesome. Size of pipe.
Could you repeat that last line?
What's that?
Could you repeat that last line?
Awesome.
No, the alignment is set?
Yeah.
Okay, you just
Yeah.
didn't put enough emphasis on it
Oh, okay.
for how valuable that is in terms
Yeah.
of the progress.
Oh, that's great. Plus, it goes on. Size of pipe from 250 to 300 if the town goes with doing the single line down to the creek. They're still waiting for a price on that. That'll come. They had a good discussion with transportation, actually with real people, he said, and it was great. And they got the okay to go from town limits up to the top of the hill, which is, what is that, about a mile and a half in, and the transportation is right away due to the creek or due to the river and all that, so. But once they get to the top of the hill, we're probably going to look at going outside of the transportation boundary. Going out into the fields possibly. If they try to work with transportation, it could delay even up to a year and a half to for this pipeline, so. That's if they go political, but we'll see what happens. Alignment approvals for booster station and fill stations, they're looking at that through transportation, and they were meeting with the landman yesterday, or Wednesday to start that discussion, right? Kind of like 2/3 of the alignment kind of set, if all goes well. Environmentals have to be done by September 30th, no later, for field assessments. Or else that will stop it for another year. The progression will stop. So they're really pushing. They're still on schedule, but you know, they're just on the edge of it. So hopefully it keeps going the same way. They're looking for information on how much the water trucks are gonna be using the fill station, and the industrial users will be using it. And yeah, and that's July 23rd, actually, that's what, July 23rd is the next meeting. That's what I forgot to mark down on the thing there, so. And that'll be another Teams meeting, so. Yeah, it's moving along.
Progress is always a good thing. Thank you.
So I don't know if you can chime in any more than that, CEO, or I think that's about, everything's looking pretty good.
Awesome.
That.
Yeah. Is it any objections that just being added to the calendar?
Yeah, for July 23rd. I forgot that. That's it's a shoot me moment.
I don't believe there's any objections with council that we. July 23rd.
It's Island Lake at what time? I don't know. That'll be set. The last one, was it at 9? Yeah.
Okay, you're good.
You betcha.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I just wanted to mention on 11.1 AI for the Excellent report provided by Counselor Anderson, and thank you very much for attending. I was unable to, so I really appreciate your availability for that and the details that you provided to us. It has also caught a bit of attention, and it was brought to my attention that some of the stats that may have been presented during this event may not be accurate, so they're being questioned. So just for your knowledge, so that you're aware. Well, I guess one of the things that surprises me, and I just, how the stats are, with regards to the, surveys and whatnot that have been going around for this particular initiative of an independent police force in Alberta, that 86 and 87%, I guess it is, of respondents strongly opposed. So I'm really just surprised that we're going forward with something that Albertans are strongly opposing. But again, I just wanted to say thank you, because that's huge, the information you provided. Go ahead.
Thank you. And just to clarify, these are the statistics that were provided by Minister Ellis.
Right. Yeah.
During the, but the tone of it very much was, he was pushing for private police or APP. So
yeah,
very interesting though, to be part of those conversations and to listen to what everybody else had to say. Thank you for allowing me to attend when you had scheduling conflicts.
I really appreciate you being there, because this is really good information, and the report is excellent. So thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it. All righty. So with that,
The Ignoring Albertans panel is moving around right now, and so we shouldn't be surprised that the government is charging ahead.
yeah,
I mean,
it's,
the pensions, all that stuff, like it's par for the course.
yeah, it's a head scratcher for sure. And it's concerning, when we don't speak out, I guess, how do I put this? We're the voice of our residents, and I expect the residents of Alberta also to be the voice as well, but it's pretty frustrating when that doesn't happen. But anyway, we will move forward, and does anybody have a motion here to accept? We don't need to accept reports. We're not doing any action on them. So we can just finally go into closed, I think. All those in favor, who's got the motion? Councillor Tamzik, going to closed. All those in favor? And I don't believe there's any opposed. You're good. Councillor Cromwell, if you're in and out, we'll let you know, and it might end up getting dropped, just so you're aware, because you're cutting in and out already. Yes, so we'll go into close 13.1.